welcome to Sports Talk. I'm Phil Hill, and this month we're going to review the recently completed fall season. And as always, we're pleased to have the Supervisor of Athletics for East Brunswick Schools, Frank Noppenberger. Frank, welcome to Sports Talk.
Phil, it's always a pleasure to be here, and before we go any further, let me take this time to thank you and Jimmy for donating your time and covering all those football games for us, and we hopefully you'll be able to be there for wrestling and basketball this winter, and then volleyball and track and baseball in the spring.
If Channel 8's there, we'll be there. Let's start right out with girls gymnastics. Jim, 7-3, Joe Gannon, a very successful season.
It was Joey's first year, and he's never coached before, although he's, as you know, a All-American gymnast at the Naval Academy. He was a state champion at East Brunswick, and this was his first year of coaching, and they had a very good year. Jade Shaloida was the leader of the team. She's an outstanding gymnast. She'll end up probably scholarshiping next year. And then Terry Nelson was another young lady that did a fine job for us. We came up a little short in the conference championship, but I think we're going to challenge people next year for sectionals and some conference honors. And Joey's got the girls working already. I know he's got some of them on the diving team, and he's following up what they're doing in the gym clubs. Joey's a good man. We're lucky to have him.
Okay. I guess talking about gymnastics, I want to move on to cheerleading, because you almost have to be a gymnast to be a cheerleader nowadays.
It's funny, Phil, because your daughter was a cheerleader, and you've even probably seen a little change since
Evolution.
Then.
Yes.
And it's changed a lot. And now in the winter, you'll see there are going to be 11 males out there as cheerleading.
Wow.
They don't do so much as cheering and leading the crowd anymore, although we do have some of our favorites. The Bears with pom-poms is our favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They have changed a little, but we're still getting the numbers, and our girls are always tops. Our coaches, Lynn Regan, did a great job this year. And in the beginning of the year, we had an accident with the coach, the JV coach, and Barb Guido, who I'd like to publicly thank for stepping up and taking over as the assistant coach, because without her, I was going to have to call on you or David Ambrosi to be the cheerleading coach. Our two captains I'd like to mention were Jen Grigo and Kim Kasich. They did a great job in the fall for us, and they'll be captains again in the winter.
Okay, super. Field hockey, 11-6-2. Cindy Todoroff, and we had talked before the season about this field hockey team, and one of their goals was that they wanted to beat Piscataway, and they didn't do it the first time around, but I understand the second time around they did get Piscataway.
They beat Piscataway at Piscataway soundly. They dominated that contest, and they also won the conference championship for the first time, and first time at a GMC, but the first time at county conference championship, I think, in like 20 years, since Cindy, the coach, was a player. An outstanding season for the young ladies. I'm real happy for them. As you know, they were led by Allison Barnett, who is a all-state caliber player. She's playing in all-star games all over, and Lisa Kaufman did a great job for her. And of course, we talked before about Jamie Schneider. Cindy did a super job this year, because she came in telling me we could be either really good or really bad. There was a lot of question marks. And I think she did her best job coaching this year. Because I don't know if we were the most talented, but we won when we had to. And we're real proud of the girls. And hopefully we can build on it next year. This was the first year, Phil, that we had a 9th grade field hockey team. First time ever at East Brunswick. So now we're going to have that feeder system. So these kids are going to have a year under their belt before they get to the JV level. So in the next couple of years, hopefully it'll show the dividends of having that 9th grade field hockey team.
Okay, we're sort of doing this show before a lot of the postseason honors come out. Surely Allison Barnett will be all county, perhaps all state. She had 18 goals, 3 assists for 39 points, and you had Sherry Mendelson, a junior, who had 7 goals and 1 assist for 15 points. So as Cindy has pointed out time and time again, Allison Barnett gets a lot of the pub, but there's a lot more to that team.
And the goalie did an outstanding job. I was real impressed with our goal play. So it'll be interesting, but my hat's off to the girls. It was a long time coming for Cindy, and and maybe she got that monkey off her back now.
Okay. Football, 1-8 for Marcus Borden, and a season like no season we've had in a long time. And I know I usually take it from you at this point, but a very tough season for East Brunswick and Marcus Borden. Marcus is a very competitive person, and football is his life. Yeah. Everything he does, not just for his team, but things for around the state and whatnot, tells you how much he loves football. But I spoke to him, and as tough a season as he's ever had.
It was. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, well, we tried our best and we improved and there's moral victories. Everyone's somewhat disappointed in the way the season happened and the way it turned out. However, it's not a result of lack of effort on the kids or the coaches. Maybe we just didn't have it this year. Maybe we just didn't get the breaks. If I can look at the coaches and ask them, look them in the eye and say, did you do your best? And they say, absolutely. And if you can say that to the kids and they did their best and that were the results, well, you know, what else can you do?
Exactly.
And, you know, you talk about Marcus and his competitiveness, and he's an outstanding coach and he's also an outstanding Spanish teacher. And whatever he goes at, he goes 100%. And we're lucky to have Marcus as a coach. Yes, he's disappointed, but we turned the page already. We're already looking for next year. As we were talking, we have young kids coming back.
That's right.
We got Cosentino at quarterback. We're going to miss Tony Alexander, though. He was an outstanding captain for us. Murrigan also did a good job for us. But we got Cosentino coming back. We got. You'll tell me some of the other players.
Well, you have
Zukas coming back.
Zukas coming back. Then you have from the JV team, which went
7-2.
7-2. So a lot of young talent that's going to come back that I think is going to make a big difference. I'd like to mention some of these seniors, though, that had a very good year. Kevin Shaw, I thought had an outstanding year and ended
especially Thanksgiving.
Especially Thanksgiving. And of course, Brian Mineta, a young man who played with a shoulder separation the last 3 or 4 games and just showed a lot of guts there. Crowell, he's the center. An excellent year. We mentioned Adam Petty, another fine young fellow, but a lot of other players as well. But as we said, for this team, I think the best is ahead of them for the next couple of years.
And the freshmen were 5-3-1 after starting out 0-3. They won. And Bill McDougall, the head coach down at Churchill, did a great job this year. Didn't have a lot of talent, but did a good job coaching. I think winning breeds winning, and with the JVs and the freshmen having an outstanding year, it'll be turned around next year. There's no doubt in my mind.
The other thing in the last word is that when you look at the schedule, everybody they played, J.P. Stevens, probably the most outstanding team in this area here, and they're still in the States. And then you got Woodbridge and Searleville, Piscataway, South Brunswick. It doesn't stop. You know,
like Piscataway beat Franklin.
Right, exactly.
Right, but that's no excuse. We should compete with them, and we will compete with them, and there's no doubt in my mind. Before we go on, Phil, we used to sit here, we used to talk about boys gymnastics, and then you and I discussed that the season was over because there is no more boys regular season in the state of New Jersey for lots of reasons. But you still can compete as in a gym club. We had a young man, Matt Plumser, who's graduating this year, competed for a gym club and earned a scholarship to the University of Massachusetts to be a gymnast. So I'd like to congratulate him. He doesn't compete interscholastically, but he's still part of the East Brunswick athletic program in a sense. So congratulations to Matthew.
That's quite an honor. Boys cross country 3 and 4 for Coach Rick Murray. Could you tell us a little bit about the team?
Rick and the players were a little bit disappointed in their performance. However, Rick would come in. He's such a good coach. Rick would come in and talk to me about times and how much they improved and how much each kid improved. And he's really, has Marcus's into the football. Rick's the same way in cross country, and he challenged the kids each day in practice and each meet to improve your time, and they did. And they're relatively young. They're led by Ted Konya, who he qualified for the states, and he did a good job for us. And then Barry Kahn will be coming back next year. Then there's 3 young kids who did real well in the county sophomore meet. And I think we're maybe a year away from being a power. But Kevin O'Reilly of the O'Reilly family, Blackborough, of course, of the Blackborough family. Then there's a new family coming in, and it's the Donovan family. This kid Brian Donovan is a runner, and with those three guys doing the winter track, spring track, I think that's the nucleus with Barry coming back too that Rick needs next year to make us a contender.
So they have a lot of young kids that are going to develop. That's great. Girls cross country, Sandy Horvath, 3-3 this year, down a little bit for Sandy.
Sandy's a great motivator of the kids, and I believe he's got the best out of his kids this year. He gives them all different ways of motivating them. He talks to them about nutrition. He talks to them about different ways of training, and he's a very good coach, and we're lucky to have Sandy with us. He's got great numbers out there. He's got a lot of kids out there. Three of the ones I'd like to mention is Amy Hand, who had a real good year, Chris Schaefer, and everyone is bonkers, certainly about Lauren Brown. They think that she could be maybe the next Kara Horvath. So I know I always sit here and say the future looks bright.
Right.
And it does, because that's what our coaches do, is they develop the young talent as it comes along. And that's why we're always competitive and we're always in the games or the meets. So I think Sandy's going to show us how good his team is next year and the following year.
Cross-country runners are sort of a different breed anyway, and I say that positively. You got to have a lot of inner strength. You're out there pretty much, I mean, you can function as a team, but you're pretty much out there by yourself, and some days it's very cold, some days it's hot, and you just got to let it go. You
start out, as you were saying, in the end of August, it's 95 degrees, and then you're running in 30-degree rainstorms at Warnaco Park or something. So they're not only does the weather change, but their bodies go through changes. In the middle of the year, all of a sudden they start to drag like they hit the wall. But they have to be so self-motivated. You're absolutely right. And it's amazing with cross-country, unless you really watch it and understand it, you can't believe what a team sport it is. When you have a big invitational, if you just beat the guy in front of you, that counts as a point, and then that could make you, as we were last year, by 1 point, Central Jersey state champs.
I see.
And I think we missed making it this year by 1 point too, qualifying for the state group meets by 1 point, which is one place.
Wow.
And that's, so when you talk about a team game, it is. And I've really enjoyed cross country the last couple of years with our coaches and the kids.
Okay. Girls soccer, 21-1. And when one considers that the very first game of the year was a tie, 0-0, and the next to last game of the year, they lost 1-0 in overtime to Bridgewater Raritan. It's another incredible, outstanding season.
Yeah. Last night there was the girls soccer banquet, and the parents group led by Mr. Hagan did a great job honoring the girls. And you could almost sense a little bit of disappointment in the girls that they didn't attain state championship level. And I tried to tell them it doesn't happen by accident. You know, the county tournament champions, the Red Division, I mean, not many of them even mentioned that they were Red Division champions. It seems like sometimes they take it for granted. And I think what's happening is the other towns are catching up to us as far as the youth league. I mean, our youth league, you know, in town is outstanding. And you get people that are dedicating 8 years of coaching soccer with a particular group. And other towns are now saying, well, why is East Brunswick so good? So now they've started emulating us, and they're doing that. So they're catching up with us. And the other line is, you know, any given day. If you don't come to play, you're not going to win. And I'm not saying the girls didn't come to play.
I hear what you're saying.
Bridgewater's a good team. But you've really, that's why they keep score. You don't know what's going to happen.
But the strange thing is that we're even talking about it, Frank. I mean, 21-1. With that record, they ended up 13th in the state in the Star Ledger Final Poll, which I mean, you're wondering who's ahead of them then. For the 18th consecutive year, ever since the GMC has been in place, they have won the county tournament. I saw Lucas, I think, the day after the loss to Bridgewater Raritan, and said that, you know, Lou, I think we've spoiled people.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
we've spoiled people, the expectations and whatnot. How can you year after year, have a 20-win season, and how the girls can't feel bad about anything?
You're right, and they shouldn't, but I just sense that, and hopefully I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're talking those 18 years, not one of those times did the other team get lucky. Luck
right.
comes
That's
into
right.
it.
That's
Luck
right.
comes into
Right.
it. And the scary thing about girls soccer is, of course, Celine Hagan, an all-star goalie, all-conference goalie for us, she'll be missed, and there's other seniors who are graduating. But when you talk about the kids that are coming back, Kim Esposito, Becky Pratt, Tara Davis, Bonnie Reese, you talk about those kids coming back who may have been the nucleus of the offense and the defense of the squad. It's scary to think that if we were 21-1 this year with a young team, what are we going to be like next year?
You're right.
So I've been sending out messages to the schools wanting to scrimmage or play them. And I think we're going to upgrade the schedule a little bit, trying to get a Shawnee. Of course, we want to get Ramapo. They were #1 this year.
Wow.
We've got Westfield already settled in. That'll be a nice weekend at East Brunswick. We'll play all 4 boys and girls soccer, both levels, at one Saturday morning up at the high school, right after the Edison football game. So that should be a nice Saturday. See some high-quality soccer.
Okay, I want to mention a few other people. The Simi
The Simi sisters.
and Rachel Riffenberg is also a very fine player. Tara Davis, 22 goals, and Becky Pratt, 16 goals, both sophomores. So,
No, right. Like I said, the best years ahead of us.
Wow.
I mean, Davis has been with us for 2 years, and she's only a sophomore, which makes sense. However, she's such an experienced player. So we're gonna turn some heads next year.
okay, boys soccer, Dan Haston, 13-5-2, and a darn good record. I hate to say down a little bit from the previous year, but it's 13-5-2. I think speaks for itself.
Well, only the record was down. They won the conference this year. They had a great run during that tournament, and they dominated, in my opinion, the conference. They did a great job in handing or tying North Brunswick for the first time. They were undefeated,
Right.
and nor were they tied up to that point, and we just outplayed them, I thought, that game. Coach did a great job scouting them and preparing them. As a matter of fact, I think Steve Paseski, our assistant coach at the 8th grade level, he scouted them, and the kids played up that game. They really did. They played big. They came up big in that. Some big plays by our goalie. We had a goal called back that we're still going to take it to the videotape. I don't know if it'll work.
Well,
they won the conference. I think it's 3 years in a row.
okay.
They were seconds away from winning the division and seconds away from advancing in the state tournament. And, Coach knows, and he knew going in that he had a couple question marks, maybe at sweeper and how many goals we were able to score. But Stan Jarka, Joe D'Agostino, and Doug Zukas did a great job as leaders on the team. But you talk about, again, the majority of the kids were underclassmen. You got Brett Hawkinjoss. You got Mike Miller, who was going to fill in at the goalie, I think. Keith Sultana was a freshman and started for us. Blaylock, who missed the entire year with a broken foot, will be a force next year. And I think it's just going to be another good year. I think we're going to be we won't have a superstar next year because they're a year away from that being a superstar, but I think we're going to be just as good next year.
Okay. Girls tennis, Karen Grant, 14-1, an outstanding record.
The only disappointing thing about tennis the whole year was we had a lot of rainouts in our games, and we weren't able to play the big people. We were still rated in the top 20 in the Star Ledger. We'll be rated even higher next year because we've got the majority of our kids coming back. And, of course, it's led by Courtney Eiseldike, who's a rated player. And she became ill near the end of the year, and she wasn't there for the run in the state tournament. And it's a shame because we would have beaten Marlborough and probably won Central Jersey. but that's why you have to keep scoring. That's why you have to have substitutes, and you know, the kids handle it well, and we just did our best, and we walked away knowing that we lost the match, or we weren't with our best. But and Erin Lindsay played #1 singles for us when Courtney moved out. Did a great job. The match went so long, it had to go into the next day. It was called because of darkness.
Wow.
So she was conference champ. Courtney was conference champ. Renee was conference champ. Our doubles of team first and second were also conference champs. So I'm real. We are. East Brunswick is real proud of our tennis program. We win with class, and when we lost, they were class all the way, and that's a tribute to Karen and the girls.
I mean, Karen, I know, is very. Courtney Eiseldike speaks for herself. Just an outstanding tennis player. But even before she got ill, I think earlier in the year she was involved in the ETA tournament or something, and they beat West Windsor Plainsboro without her. And the coach made it the point at that time that there's a lot more to this team than just our outstanding
absolutely.
talent.
And that's what Karen talks about. Karen talks about Callie and Barbara and Stacy and Lauren as the doubles players, and how important it is for a double player to be ready to play singles. And she's a real team-minded coach. Never, we all know Courtney may be the best in the county, but never does she just keep going, Courtney. It's always the team.
Okay, great. Winter season practice has started. I'm sure you have some predictions about what we can expect.
Well, I think we'll be undefeated in every sport at every level. Well,
no pressure.
Well, it'll be interesting. I think wrestling is there's some question marks. We could have a very good year, or it could be a subpar year, depending on how some of the kids come through. Boys basketball, there's question marks. Girls basketball, Reggie, of course, he really believes he's going to win them all. He really does.
He does, huh?
Winter track, as we talked about the cross-country kids coming back, and the coaches are really working. Coach Mandy is really working with the kids in the weight room for the strength. So we're going to have some runners, and we're going to have some weight people. He and Coach Parker, as I said, got them in there lifting. Swimming, they've been practicing since the 15th. We've upgraded our schedule a little bit. We'll be swimming Westfield. Pelly thinks we'll both qualify for the states, boys and girls, and at the same time, we're doing a lot more with our diving team. We're getting a lot more invitationals. We're investigating running one at Middlesex County College. And the bowling team, of course, they're going to be better. Boys will be better than they were last year, as the girls will. So I think everyone's going to be in contention for some championships. I really do.
Okay, super.
I mean, I'm not trying to put the whammy on anyone, but I think there's the potential there.
Super. I hear rumors about the volleyball moving to
the fall.
The fall of '98, right?
That is correct. Our girls will play this spring, and then they'll play that fall. The state mandated that all teams have to play in the same season, which I think is a mistake, simply because the number of offerings you have for the girls in the fall as compared to those in the spring. So me, you, Dr. Kopko, we're going to petition the state to move it back into the spring for the following year, and then you'll equal out the number of offerings. For the girls in the spring, what do you have? You have softball, you have track, and golf. And Bo's always trying to recruit girls for golf, but there's just not that many out there. Where in the fall for the girls, they can cheerlead, they can run cross country, they can field hockey, they can play field hockey, they can do gymnastics, they can do soccer. Okay, and now you're going to add another sport, volleyball. It just doesn't make sense.
I see.
But traditionally, in '68 is when volleyball must have started in Bergen County, Paramus Catholic.
Okay.
So they've always played it in the fall, and the traditionalists don't want to leave it. So it'll be a battle, a challenge, and we'll see what happens. But I think we have to do what's best for the kids. And I'm not using them as a pawn.
Okay.
But you got to have more offerings for the girls.
Okay. All your coaching vacancies filled?
As a matter of fact, we just, and I can't tell you who, but we just filled our, hopefully the recommendation will be up for all our coaches, and we're real happy with all our coaches. I'm very happy with them. I did a lot of research. We checked them out. We didn't rush into anything, and we're really excited. It'll be a good year.
Okay, state level, anything significant happening?
Well, you know, next year, and it'll be out in the paper soon, all the hoopla about the playoffs.
Right, football.
You predicted, and I wrote it down, that football playoffs will make it in 2 years. Maybe that's because you have a ventured interest. I don't know. That'll be 8 teams next year.
Okay.
And then there'll be 10 football games regardless. If you don't make the playoffs, you'll have a 10th game. If you do make the playoffs, your 10th game will be the first round of the playoffs. It's new. The season will open up the same for practice. The first game will be the week earlier. What basically has happened is they eliminated, remember the game you do the game scrimmage?
Right.
That week will be a real game because the coaches felt that they didn't need all those game scrimmages or scrimmages to get ready. So nothing's been lengthened. We just took the preseason and made it a little bit shorter.
Well, this should prove to be interesting, Frank. We're about out of time, but
Right.
as always, I want to thank you for appearing here, and I look forward to seeing you in a few months to talk about the success of the winter sports.
Right, and I'm looking forward to having everyone come out and support the Bears. Channel 8, hopefully you'll be there, as many as possible, because it will be an exciting year.
Okay, thanks. I'm Phil Hill for Frank Noppenberger saying join us next time.